I'm back with another black metal promotion video, this time featuring one of the greatest black and Viking metal bands, Bathory. If you love black metal, subscribe to this channel and like this video. Bathory is a Swedish extreme metal band formed in Vällingby, by Thomas Borge Forsberg, better known as his stage name Quorthon, was joined by the bass guitarist Fredrik Melander and the drummer Jonas Åkerlund. Bathory is regarded as the pioneer of both black and Viking metal along with Venom and Merciful Fate. Although Venom's black metal, released in 1982, was the first record to coin the term, it was Bathory's early albums, featuring satanic lyrics, lo-fi production, and an inhuman vocal style, that defined the genre. Many fans and reviewers have claimed Venom was an influence on Bathory. However, Quorthon has said in an interview with Kick-Ass magazine in 1985 that he had not listened to Venom until after the first Bathory album was released. He has also stated the band's early work was influenced primarily by Black Sabbath, Motorhead, and GBH. Quorthon is the main songwriter and member for more than 2 decades. According to Quorthon, the band name settled after the visit to the London Dungeon. The London Dungeon was opened in 1974 by Annabelle Geddes. The attraction was originally a wax exhibition of the horrifying history, comprising themed tableaus under the Tooley Street arches. The band considered several names before settling on the name of Bathory, including Nosferatu, Natas, Mephisto, Elizabeth Bathory, and Countess Bathory. But drummer Jonas says that it was also inspired and taken from the Venom song Countess Bathory. The Venom song was based on the life of Elizabeth Bathory, who is believed to be the most prolific female murderess. Countess Elizabeth Bathory was a Hungarian noblewoman and purported serial killer from the family of Bathory, who owned land in the Kingdom of Hungary, now Hungary, Slovakia, and Romania. Bathory and 4 of her servants were accused of torturing and killing hundreds of girls and women between 1590 and 1610. Her servants were put on trial and convicted, whereas Bathory was confined to her home. She was imprisoned within the castle of Křečty in December 1610. Lords of Chaos described Bathory's first 4 albums as the blueprint for Scandinavian black metal. Acts influenced by their early records include Mayhem, Burzum, Dark Throne Gorgoroth, Satyricon, Emperor, Dark Funeral, Enslaved, Marduk, Moon Sorrow, and Dimmu Borgir. In early days, Quorthon worked part-time at the small record label Typhoon Gramophone, which was owned by his father, Borge Forsberg. In late 1983, the label was putting together a compilation of songs by Scandinavian metal bands. However, at the last minute, one of the bands backed out. Typhoon agreed to let Bathory appear on the record as a replacement. The album, called Scandinavian Metal Attack, was released in March 1984 and it was Bathory's first appearance on record. Soon afterward, Typhoon Record asked Quorthon to record a full-length album, but his band member moved away. Quorthon recruited Rikard Bergman from his former oi punk band, Stridskuk as bassist, and Stefan Larsson from punk band Uppsklass, as a drummer. On May 22, 1984, they had their first and only rehearsal together before recording the album. 2 songs were recorded at the May 22 rehearsal, Witchcraft and Satan My Master, making it the first recording of the debut album lineup. The debut album, Bathory, was recorded in June at Heaven Shore Studio, a converted garage, in Stockholm, and released in October that year. Bathory's early work was dark, fast, heavily distorted, and raw recording, lo-fi. Quorthon's vocals were harsh, high-pitched, and raspy with occasional shrieks and screams. The band's lyrics focused on dark topics and included anti-Christian and satanic references. These traits came to define black metal, and the band used the style on their first 4 albums. Quorthon said that the band were not Satanists but used satanic references to provoke and attack Christianity. It is considered by fans and critics to be one of the contenders for the first black metal record. The goat on the album cover, taken from a drawing by Joseph Smith, was originally meant to be printed in gold. However, this was too expensive to use, so Quorthon asked for it to be as near to gold as possible. The result was more of a yellowish color. According to Swedish death metal, Quorthon thought it looked awful, and after the first 1,000 pressings it was switched to black and white. The yellow cover has become a collector's item and is now well known as Gula Gittin, the Yellow Goat. All tracks are written by Quorthon. And album tracks are Storm of Damnation, Intro, Hades, Reaper, Necromancy, Sacrifice, In Conspiracy with Satan, Armageddon, Raise the Dead, War, Outro. Over the next 4 years, Bathory released a further 3 albums, The Return, 1985, Under the Sign of the Black Mark, 1987, and Blood Fire Death, 1988. The Return. Full title: The Return of the Darkness and Evil, is the second studio album. The Return had a significant influence on developing the black metal and death metal genres. Quorthon explained the album title as such: "We wanted people to just read out The Return, as in a second album or a follow-up, and then flip the album over to look for a tracking list. Not finding one, what they got was this apocalyptic poem with the song titles woven into it. Only after listening through the album to the end would you get the full title of the album, The Return of the Darkness and Evil." In various interviews, Fenriz of Dark Throne praised the album and defined it as the essence of black metal. The Return track is The Revelation of Doom, Total Destruction, Born for Burning, The Wind of Mayhem, Bestial Lust, Bitch, Possessed, The Rite of Darkness, Reap of Evil, Son of the Damned, Sadist, Tormentor, The Return of the Darkness and Evil. Outro. In 1987, Bathory released their third studio album, Under the Sign of the Black Mark, through New Renaissance Records and Under One Flag. It was a key album in the development of the black metal genre, and greatly influenced the Norwegian black metal scene that emerged in the early 1990s. The photograph on the cover was by Gunnar Silens, from a photograph in the Royal Swedish Opera in Stockholm. The model used was Leif Ehrenborg, a then top-class Swedish bodybuilder. The song Woman of Dark Desires is a tribute to the band's namesake, Elizabeth Bathory. Enter the Eternal Fire was the band's first epic, reaching nearly 7 minutes in length, with lyrics referring to a deal with the devil. The song Equimandhorn makes references to hell as well as to Norse mythology, including Odin's 8-legged black stallion Sleipnir. The album get a very positive response from all over the world. Fenriz of Dark Throne called it the quintessential black metal album. He also cited it as a musical inspiration for the 1995 Dark Throne album Panzerfaust, besides Celtic Frost's Morbid Tales and Vader's Necrolist demo. The song Call from the Grave was featured in the 2009 game Grand Theft Auto 4, The Lost and Damned, and it was also covered by Swedish black metal band Dark Funeral. In 2017, Rolling Stone ranked Under the Sign of the Black Mark 81st on their list of the 100 greatest metal albums of all time. Phil Anselmo from Pantera covers the song Massacre with his project band Scour. And the album track is Nocturnal Obeisance, Massacre, Woman of Dark Desires, Call from the Grave, Equimandhorn, Enter the Eternal Fire, Chariots of Fire, 13 Candles of Doom. Outro. On October 8, 1988, Bathory released their fourth studio album Blood Fire Death. The album, although mostly black metal, includes some of the first examples of Viking metal. According to the book Black Metal, Evolution of the Cult by Dale Patterson, Blood Fire Death began a second trilogy, an era Quorthon described as the pre-Christian Swedish Viking era. The lyrics to For All Those Who Died were taken from a poem by Erika Jong, first published in her book Witches, 1981, while the first 3 verses of A Fine Day to Die are taken from Cassilda's song of Robert W. Chambers' The King in Yellow. The front cover comes from the painting The Wild Hunt of Odin, 1872, by Peter Nikolai Arbo. The painting as well as the opening track Odin's Ride over Nordland, use the wild hunt motif from folklore. Blood Fire Death established this motif in metal culture, where it since has become popular with several bands and event organizers. In 2009, IGN included Blood Fire Death in their 10 Great Black Metal Albums list. An album track is Odin's Ride Over Nordland, A Fine Day to Die, The Golden Walls of Heaven, Pace Till Death, For All Those Who Died, Dies Irae, Blood Fire Death. Outro. The outro is not listed on the cover and is not included on the cassette release. With the third and fourth albums, Bathory began attacking Christianity with his lyrics as well as from a different angle. He is realizing that Satanism is a Christian product and saw them both as religious hocus pocus. Bathory stopped performing live in 1985, with quorthon viewing organizing concerts as too much hassle. Although Bathory's fourth album, Blood Fire Death, 1988, largely followed the style of the albums before it, some songs had a very different style. These songs have a much slower tempo, acoustic passages, choral background singing, and lyrics about Vikings and Norse mythology. Music critic Eduardo Rivadavia of AllMusic describes this epic style as possibly the first, true example of Viking metal. After Blood Fire Death, the band shed its early black metal style. Their fifth album, Hammerheart, 1990, was the first archetypical Viking metal album. This was said to have been influenced by the American power metal band Manowar, although quorthon described this rumor as another total misconception. A music video was made for the song One Road to Asa Bay. quorthon dedicated the song One Road to Asa Bay, about the Christianization of Scandinavia, to C. Dean Anderson, who had earlier sent some of his books to quorthon. The village's name in the song, Asa Bay, comes from the pseudonym, Asa Drake, which Anderson used in some of his books. Due to the release of Bathory's album Hammerheart, Hammerheart Brewing Co. is a brewery, located in Lino Lakes, Minnesota, whose name and branding were influenced by the album. According to co-founder Nathaniel Chapman, all of our beer names are inspired by Norwegian lore and we want to keep that attitude. The themes of the brewery and its beer are focused on Norse and Celtic mythology, and heavy metal music. Tracks in this album are Shores in Flames, Valhalla, Baptized in Fire and Ice, Father to Son, Song to Haul Up High, Home of Once Brave, One Road to Asa Bay. Outro. Bathory releases their sixth studio album Twilight of the Gods. It continues the exploration of the newly created Viking metal style, and also displays heavy epic doom and classical influences. It is titled after an opera by Wagner. It is a mid-tempo, more acoustic album than previous Bathory releases, though it follows on from Hammerheart. Of significance is quorthon's total control of the album, playing all electric and acoustic guitar, keyboards, bass, and drum programming. The background vocals are a particular feature of the album, with quorthon multi-tracking himself, as he did on Hammerheart, though on this album he sounds more like a chorus than previously. Album tracks are Twilight of the Gods, Through Blood by Thunder, Blood and Iron, Under the Runes, To Enter Your Mountain, Bond of Blood, Hammerheart. Outro. Bathory releases their seventh studio album Requiem. It eschews the Viking metal style of Bathory's three previous releases for a thrash metal style that recalls many of the bands that initially influenced Bathory. This album marks the return of Bathory after quorthon put the band on hold to record his first solo album. Requiem tracks are Requiem, Prostitution, Necroticus, War Machine, Blood and Soil, Pax Vobiscum, Suffocate, Distinguished to Kill, Apocalypse. On October 17, 1995, Bathory released their eighth studio album, Octagon, through Black Mark Production. It continues the retro thrash metal style of the previous album, Requiem. It was reissued in 2003, with the first two tracks combined and Winds of Mayhem outro added. All tracks are written by quorthon, except Deuce, written by Gene Simmons. The album tracks are Immaculate Pine Tree Road number 930. Born to Die. Psychopath. Sociopath. Gray. Century. 33 something. War Supply. Schizoanity. Judgment of Posterity. Deuce, Kiss cover. Blood on Ice is the 9th studio album by Bathory. It was released on May 27, 1996, through Black Mark Production. The master tapes were recorded in 1989, but the album was not immediately released, both because the album was never properly finished, and because founder and songwriter Quorthon was worried that it presented too drastic a departure from the band's previous black metal sound. It was eventually released, after remastering and re-editing on more advanced studio equipment, in 1996, partly through fan pressure resulting from his mentioning of the project in an interview. Quorthon expands on this, as well as more specific matters about the recording of Blood on Ice and many of the other early Bathory albums, in his liner notes for this release. The album's plot follows ideas and formats typical of the sagas, but was written by Quorthon himself. The album cover is drawn by Christian Wallen. Bathory changed style once more, this time turning to retro thrash in the vein of 1980s Bay Area thrash bands, and album tracks are: Intro. Blood on Ice. Man of Iron. One-Eyed Old Man. The Sword. The Stallion. The Wood Woman. The Lake. Gods of Thunder, of Wind and of Rain. The Ravens. The Revenge of the Blood on Ice. However, the 2001 release Destroyer of Worlds was a transitional release that led to a full return to the Viking metal style. The album's title Destroyer of Worlds is taken from a famous quote by J. Robert Oppenheimer about the atomic bomb: "I am become death, destroyer of worlds," which was itself quoted from verse 32 of chapter 11 in the Bhagavad Gita, spoken by Vishnu. Stylistically, Destroyer of Worlds is a cross between the Viking metal of Bathory's 1988 to 1991 period and the thrash metal style of Requiem and Octagon. It is Bathory's longest studio album. Tracks in the album are: Lake of Fire, Destroyer of Worlds, Ode, Bleeding, Pestilence 109, Death from Above, Crom, Liberty and Justice, Kill Kill Kill, Sudden Death, White Bones, Day of Wrath. On November 18, 2002, Bathory released their 11th studio album Nordland I through Black Mark Production. It is a return to the Viking metal of Bathory's middle period and features songs mainly concerning Norse mythology. And tracks are: Prelude, Nordland, Winterblood, Dragon's Breath, Ring of Gold, Forever Dark Woods, Broken Sword, Great Hall Awaits a Fallen Brother, Mother Earth Father Thunder, Heimfahrt. After releasing Nordland I, Bathory released their 12th and final studio album, Nordland II. It is the successor to Nordland I. It is the longest studio album of Bathory. Its total length is 63 minutes. It was also released as a limited digipack. All tracks are written by Quorthon. Album tracks are: Fanfare, Blooded Shore, Sea Wolf, Vinland, The Land, Death and Resurrection of a Northern Sun, The Messenger, Flash of the Silverammer, The Will of Sun. Outro. Quorthon's death. In June 2004, Quorthon was found dead in his home, apparently due to heart failure. He was known to suffer from heart problems in the past. On June 3, 2006, Black Mark Production released a box set in tribute to Quorthon, containing 3 CDs of his favorite Bathory and Quorthon songs, a 176-page booklet, a DVD with his long-form video for One Road to Asa Bay, an interview, and some rare promo footage and a poster. Several Bathory tribute albums have been compiled by black metal artists, such as In Conspiracy with Satan, a tribute to Bathory, and Voices from Valhalla, a tribute to Bathory. In several Bathory tribute albums have been compiled by black metal artists, such as In Conspiracy with Satan, a tribute to Bathory, and Voices from Valhalla, a tribute to Bathory. In August 2004, several members of the Norwegian black metal scene gathered to perform Bathory songs in a set titled, A Tribute to quorthon, at the Hole in the Sky Festival. Hole in the Sky was a Norwegian extreme metal festival held in Bergen that took place at the end of August each year from 2000 to 2011. The first event was held in 2000 in honor of the recently deceased of Erik Grim Brodreskift, ex-member of Borknagar, Gorgoroth, and Immortal. The festival was named after the eponymous song by Black Sabbath. The festival was named after the eponymous song by Black Sabbath. The last edition of the festival took place in August 2011. In Bergen, Norway. These musicians included Abath from Immortal, Apollyon from Au Noir, Faust and Samoth from Emperor, and Zyklon, Gal from Gorgoroth, Grudel Kagelson and Ivar Björnsson from Enslaved, Nocturno Culto from Darthrone, and Satyr from Satyricon. And the Swedish black metal band Watain played a live tribute to quorthon and the band Bathory at the Sweden Rock Festival 2010. The resulting recording was the limited edition album Tonight We Raise Our Cups and Toast in Angel's Blood, a tribute to Bathory with 7 tracks, and was released on February 23, 2015. It was also released as a 12 album, the latter in 1300 numbered copies with 4 tracks, A Fine Day to Die, The Return of Darkness and Evil, Rite of Darkness and Reaper on side A, and 3 tracks Enter the Eternal Fire, Sacrifice, and Born for Burning, on side B. The release proved very popular with the Swedish public, with the limited vinyl edition reaching number 1 on the vinyl chart. The album made it also number 2, on the national Sverige-topplistan chart, the official Swedish albums chart, in February 2015. The band final lineup is quorthon, Thomas Borge Forsberg, vocals, guitar, bass guitar, drums, lyrics, and composer. Thank you for watching the complete history of Bathory. All hail quorthon, gone but never forgotten, a true legend. Rest in hell, master. If you love my effort, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and press the bell icon for a new video.